Thanks a lot. It's really a pleasure, Women Yost, to be here at the European Industry and Energy Summit. I can't be there in person, but I think also virtually it might work quite well. And I think you mentioned already, we are facing a huge transformation. I think there's strong commitment from all the stakeholders, be it politicians, society, the industry, to really make this world climate neutral and also act in a closed loop manner. But this needs a fundamental change in how we act and what we do. It changes the work we are living and we are working. And I would like to explain now how BASF is preparing for this and how we would like to make this happen as a chemical company. Let's start with the BASF goals. I think many companies have set themselves very ambitious goals to be climate neutral at a certain point in time. We would like to do this in 2050. But I think what's more important is to make this really tangible, to make this very concrete with the measures we have to implement. Therefore, we have this milestone in the year 2030, where we would like to reduce our CO2 emissions by 25%. And you have to keep in mind, if you use the base year 1990, this would mean a reduction of CO2 by 60%, while doubling production output. So we did already a lot in terms of operational excellence and so on to make this journey happen. But this is about the low-hanging fruits. Now I have to talk a little bit about the challenges. We start already now because the investment cycle in the chemical industry takes some time, from invention really to have something working, technology producing materials. It usually takes at least 5, most likely more 10 years. So that's why we are starting now. And maybe you click to the next slide. You see there where we started. We initiated the so-called carbon management program at BASF. And this is all about transparency and the analysis, where is CO2 coming from? You see, we are a huge emitter of CO2. It's 22 million tons globally only for BASF, scope 1, scope 2. Means what we produce in our production plants and coming from the energy that we are buying from the market. So that's already a lot. But if you now go into the details, it's half coming from the energy production and it's half coming from chemical production. And the reason is obvious. Chemical production means lots of energy. You have to heat up to make synthesis happen. So, but with this transparency, and we have it by now not only on this very aggregated level, we have it as a carbon footprint for all our 45,000 products. And this is very helpful also in discussions, where can we improve and what kind of customers would like to see what kind of improvements for their product portfolio they are buying from us. So I will walk you through the slide. You see on the left side, the electrical power. This surely must change from gray electricity to green electricity. And this needs a lot of electricity, a lot of renewable electricity. And we heard this before. We need all the support from politicians, from the framing in Europe, in the different countries, to make this green electricity available. And it's not only about being green, it's also, I will come to this later, we have to do this in a cost competitive way. So on the next slide, steam usually comes in the chemical industry from burning fossil fuels. This we have to change as well. So we have to electrify our steam production. And we are using for this heat pumps, and they are well-known technology. But in chemical industry, you need these very high density steam. And this is new technology, and we are working on this with Siemens Energy together to make this happen also in a huge pilot here at Ludwigshafen site in Germany. If you go then really to the chemical production, most of the emissions are actually coming from only 10 technologies. So 80% of the emissions are coming from 10 technologies. And the biggest CO2 producing technologies are the steam cracking, ammonia, and the hydrogen production. So what do we do here? We have the idea to electrify our steam cracker. Usually it uses fossil fuels for heating it up. We will do this with electricity, and we make this also in a pilot plant here at Ludwigshafen site together with Linde and Sabic to basically qualify later on for scaling up this technology. On the so in this we need also very many different new technologies, and here the topic is, and you heard this quite often right now, they all need new electricity. You see in the next slide what that would mean for BASF in Europe. Please, the next slide. So here you see the additional energy we need to introduce those CO2-free technologies. So we will basically, at a certain point in time, triple or even quadruple the energy needs that we have. And it's not only about getting it to the site in Germany, to the sites that we have basically in Belgium or wherever in Europe. It's also about cost-wise, it needs to be competitive. The beauty is renewable energy is basically cheap. Wind is for free, solar is for free. But the way we are handling this in the different countries, with all the taxes and levies, it adds up to a huge cost. And with a huge cost, the let's say the willingness and also the economics to change technologies will be very difficult. We won't stay competitive on a European level if we can't make this energy affordable for everyone. We as BASF, we do this on our own. We also buy into this green energy production. We have just recently announced in the Netherlands a joint venture with the company Vattenfall, with a huge wind park, offshore wind park, 1.5 gigawatt, that will bring the green energy to our site in Antwerp. And we have also committed with RWE, a big German energy producer, to set up a huge wind park in the northern German Sea. But this will take some time, also coming from all the difficult discussions we are having with politicians, with government, and really making this bureaucracy happen, that this offshore wind is then ending up with the infrastructure needed in Ludwigshafen, in the inshore location of BASF. So now I have to talk about something different, about the hydrogen. And you see this on the next slide. Hydrogen is very important as an energy carrier, but also for chemical synthesis as a raw material. So we use hydrogen as one of our base raw materials. So this hydrogen, usually done by steam reforming, is very CO2 intensive. You usually produce 1 ton of hydrogen, 10 tons of CO2. But there is ways of avoiding this. And we heard it also from Elise earlier. There is the water electrolysis, which might be a very good decentral, smaller possibility to produce hydrogen. We do this here also in the pilot plant. Might be also used for mobility sector here in this area. It's well known, it's working. The problem is it uses lots of energy. So if we would now use a different technology, what we call the methane pyrolysis, you can produce CO2-free hydrogen, pure carbon black using methane as the raw material. And here the energy consumption is 80% less than the water electrolysis. And it's also a very scalable method that we can use for huge quantities, because only BASF uses 1 million tons of hydrogen every year for producing our products. So this is now my very last slide, just to sum it up and to be ready for your questions. I think I made it quite clear in the beginning, we are really facing a challenge with bringing our industry to a low emission and circular economy. This needs to be done, but this needs kind of willingness for doing investments. I hope I showed to you that we are ready for this, that technologies are available. We need kind of openness for different technologies and different approaches. Maybe there are also some interim approaches, and then they will be changed by maybe even more sustainable ways of technologies. We can't do this on our own. We need partnerships across the industry, because it's just too big for all the companies to manage this. And we need the renewable energy, the right infrastructure, at the right costing point to make this all happen. But I think with this, if this would be all in place, this is a kind of change that we can all make happen. And then we will really end with the 2050 targets or the 2045 targets to be climate neutral in Europe. And then we would really support all the targets that society is really asking for.